Okay, like I told you, we are trying to shift from live case model to a recorded live case model. And although we are going to, the next case will be a live case preceded by a live talk from Narayan Hrudyalaya from Bangalore. Dr. Devi Shetty is going to give a talk and followed by a live case from there on thoracic aneurysm, probably a chimney procedure. I'm going to today show you a case which we did just a few days back. It's a case of a patient who came for a renal transplant on workup, had a massive abdominal aortic aneurysm. And the challenges were a short neck, and the other thing was very short common iliac length. I'm just going to show you that case. Maybe I'll show it to you. I've given some commentary, and at the end of that, we'll take questions. If you want to stop me in between, we can stop and take the questions then. Can we start the case?
Morning, everybody. Today we are going to present a case, a very interesting case. He is a gentleman from Nigeria. He came for a renal transplant, and on a workup we found that he had a massive abdominal aortic aneurysm. The interesting thing was that he had a very, very short neck, which was absolutely 3 millimeter, and then the neck was conical and it dilated from 22 millimeter to 26 millimeter, and then the aneurysm extended all the way up to the bifurcation, and the common iliac bifurcation was also very high. Now, this patient was referred to me for doing a EVAR procedure, but while we were working him up, we found that he was having pyrexia, and he was investigated for about 3 weeks for pyrexia. He was put on anti-tubercular medication. He did not improve. And finally, it turned out to be that this patient has some sort of an autoimmune disorder. He was put on immunosuppressants and then after that taken up for this procedure when the fever came down. The challenge here was that the neck was very small in length. There was only 3 millimeter infrarenal neck, and then the aneurysm, actually the neck was 22 millimeter, 3 millimeter down below the renal. And then there was a conical neck which expanded from 22 millimeter to 26 millimeter, and then there was a big, huge aneurysm which extended all the way up to the aortic bifurcation. The other point was that the common iliacs were bifurcating very high, so we had a very little landing zone, and we did not want to go and cover the internal iliacs and go into the external iliac because the patient was due for a renal transplant, and the urologist or the transplant nephrologist wanted that we have a good length of external iliacs available to them for the renal transplant. Now, this is the CT angiogram of this patient. It shows that it is a very small infrarenal neck. It's 22 millimeter, 3 millimeter down below the renal, and it becomes conical after that, and then there is the neck is 26 millimeter, and then there's a big, huge aneurysm. We also see here that there is not much of a tortuosity, but the common iliac bifurcation is very high. The size of the external iliacs as well as the common femoral arteries is quite adequate. And we wanted to approach in a way that we wanted to put the main device from the left side so that the right side is free from any vascular injury for your transplant urologist to transplant the kidney on the right external iliac artery. I've got Dr. Chopra with me, who is a senior consultant in vascular surgery and a group partner with me in vascular services. We plan to put the main device from the left side. The device which we have chosen is Endurant from Medtronic, 135 centimeter in length and 32 millimeter in diameter. And for the contralateral limb, we have chosen 95 centimeter into 14 millimeter contralateral limb. We purposely chose a 32 millimeter device because we wanted to include that conical portion of the neck also as a functional neck. And the neck actually measured 22 millimeter at 3 millimeter below the renal arteries and 26 millimeter, say about a centimeter below the renal artery. So we wanted to include this whole area, and taking a baseline diameter of about 26-27 millimeter, we want a 32 millimeter device to give us a good seal as well as good fixation. and so that the device doesn't migrate over a long period of time, because this patient needs to undergo a renal transplant on the right side. So what we have done now is we have passed in a pigtail catheter and done an aortogram, and you can see on your screen the aortogram showing an abdominal aortic aneurysm, the short neck, and early bifurcation of the common iliac. The next step is, now what we are going to do is, normally what I do is I puncture the femoral artery, pass in a 5 French sheath, and take a 5 French catheter and put this catheter on a thermowire, a soft thermowire up to the ascending aorta, and then take out this wire and change it with a stiff wire. In this case, we are using an Archer wire, which is from Medtronic. It is supposed to be quite good, and a wire in between, I would say, Backup Meyer and a Lindequist wire. So we have taken a 32 into 16 into 145 device, Endurant device. This is a device which goes through a 20 French sheath, and we are going from the left side as decided. What we are doing is the device is tracking very easily. We are going to park it a little above the left renal artery, then do aortograms to specially localize which is the lowermost renal. The right renal actually bifurcates very early, so it was not visible properly. We are going to do an angiogram again. And then after that, the plan is to slowly bring it down, put it just at the lowermost renal, so that we don't even cover it, but we are starting just at that level because the neck is very, very small. We have kept the device at almost at the lower 1/3 of L1. The renals actually start off at the upper border of the L2. Now we are going to do a DSA, get the patient off the ventilator for a while we are doing the DSA. Now we see on the DSA that we are clearly above the renals. We pull back the device a little and then open the sheath, withdraw the sheath by anti-clockwise movement of the blue handle. While doing so, we have to be very careful that we keep an upward push on the device, so that the device doesn't fall back while we are withdrawing, because the most important step here is, because the neck is very, very small, we have to be very careful that we do not have the device slipping down the neck and we have an endoleak later on, or we have a poor sealing. While we have withdrawn, we have opened the first struts, we again want to do a DSA, and let's have a new picture. Now what you see is our device is slightly above the renals, but it's okay. We are going to pull back a little. Now we are trying to release the second strut, and once we have done this, we will have another angiogram to make sure that our device is now correctly at the right position, because after this we cannot pull or push the device. This will be the final position, and once we are secure of this, we are going to now then release the entire main body and the ipsilateral limb. Can we have an angio again? Okay, apnea. So now what we see is we have done an angio and the position looks okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to slowly release the device by the same movement, and then slowly release the third strut, open the contralateral gate, and then open the ipsilateral limb. Now we are doing so, the device opens up very well. This is very good about the Medtronic Endurant device. It's a very easy device to actually sort of learn and also to use. Especially it's very good for angulated and short necks. The contralateral gate has opened exactly where we wanted to, and now we are continuing the same moment, and releasing the ipsilateral limb. And once we released it, then we are going to take care of the top cap and the nose cone. Now what we do is we do a clockwise movement of the lower wheel to open the top cap. Now the top cap is released properly. The bear springs are in right position, and after this we push the device a little up and then do opposite rotation of the lower wheel in an anti-clockwise direction. So this is going to recapture the nose cone, and what we do is we then slowly withdraw the assembly, making sure that it doesn't catch anywhere in the fabric. And we are doing slowly we withdraw the assembly, and it moves in okay within the main body and the ipsilateral limb. But it catches at the lower end of the ipsilateral limb. We are trying to put some force, but it doesn't yield. We are rotating the inner wheels to actually separate the sheath from the nose cone where the fabric seems to be caught, and we hope this would solve the problem. Now we have opened the sheath, and we can now easily withdraw the nose cone, and now we are going to recapture the sheath by an opposite anti-clockwise movement, and now the whole thing comes out very smoothly. DSA. Now this is the DSA. It shows a very good sealing of the proximal neck. There is no endo leak. The aneurysm proximally has been sealed quite okay, the way we wanted it to be. And coming down, we would take a DSA again of the lower part. Now the DSA here shows that there is a very good sealing and landing at the common iliac artery. In fact, the device lands just before the bifurcation of the left common iliac artery, and it actually spares the internal iliac artery, and this is exactly where we want it to be. In fact, we have been very lucky to land up here. The next step is to withdraw the pigtail. Now the next step is to negotiate the contralateral port or gate through the right common femoral artery. What we are going to do is we are taking a RCA catheter. This is a 5 French RCA catheter from Cordis and a thermo wire. We are trying to negotiate this into the contralateral gate. We are finding some difficulty. Most of the times it is going either anteriorly or posteriorly, and sometimes into the side of the aneurysm, and it seems difficult. We think we should take a multi-purpose catheter. Now this is a multi-purpose catheter, and we keep trying with this also, but I don't think we are succeeding. This looks a little better. Let's pass in a wire and see. Normally I try it for 2-3 minutes. If I don't get through, what I do is I puncture the brachial artery and pass in a wire from the brachial into the main body of the device, and then snare out the wire from the contralateral port through the common femoral artery, and then take on this wire, pass in a catheter, and with the help of the catheter change it to a stiffer wire, and then pass on my device over this wire and complete the procedure. Now the next step is to dilate the ends of this device. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking a Reliant balloon from Medtronic and trying to dilate and fix the landing zone of the device on the left side, so that this will allow me, once I finish this, I'm going to take the wire out, and after taking that, the surgeon can at least close the arteriotomy and reperfuse the left lower limb. And by the time I'm working on the right side, the left side work is over. We are passing a thermo wire. This is a 035 thermo wire, exchange length, We are passing through the right brachial artery, and then we got it into the descending thoracic aorta, and now into the device and to the port, contralateral port. Now we could get the wire into the right common femoral artery, and we have snared this wire out of the right common femoral artery. नहीं हाँ किसको Now what I am doing is I am pushing the wire from the left brachial artery and then pulling the wire simultaneously through the right common femoral artery. And this wire goes inside a pigtail catheter so that, the right subclavian artery ostium does not get cut out. So we are going to do this railroading sort of thing. So we get enough length of the wire out of the common femoral artery, and then we withdraw this pigtail and pass in another RCA catheter, which is 5 French from Cordis, on this wire all the way up to the aortic arch, artery into the contralateral port. We've also got a pigtail from the right brachial artery at the upper part of the device, and we are passing in a new contralateral limb. Now this limb is 16 millimeter in diameter at the lower part, 14 millimeter in the proximal part, and it is 95 centimeter in length. So we are placing it so you can see the markers correspond to the markers at the flow divider, and then we release the device slowly and slowly, and the device is being released in the same manner. We are just rotating the blue handle, and slowly the device, the sheath is coming back and the device is being released. Now we have completed the full release of the device, and I hope it has not covered the common iliac artery, because this device actually opens up little above the level on which it opened on the left side. Okay, let's have a DSA picture. Now this shows that the device has been placed very well. In fact, on the both sides we could just land just at the level of the common iliac bifurcation. We could spare both external iliac arteries. I am sure the transplant surgeon would be very happy because he can use this right external artery, iliac artery, for the renal transplant. And the seal is also very good. There appears to be no endoleak, but we are still going to dilate it with a balloon, a compliant balloon. We are now withdrawing the sheath and the assembly together. Now we are taking the same Reliant balloon, and we have to now dilate the landing zone of the graft so that there is no endoleak, the place where the graft actually overlaps with the contralateral port at the gate, main gate. That is the area where we need to again dilate so that there is no endoleak there, and then we need to take this same balloon up and dilate at the bear spring so that the fixation is very good, and also just below the renals so that the neck sealing and fixation is also very good. This is the first dilatation at the bear springs, and then we deflate the balloon and dilate it just below the renal arteries to fix the neck and also have a good seal there. After this, what we do is we withdraw the balloon and then take a completion angiogram, and once the wire is out, what we do is let the surgeon close this arteriotomy, and this would be the end of the procedure. You can see how a difficult case can be tackled easily with an endovascular approach. The patient can still go for a renal transplant, and it is very, very rewarding as compared to an open surgery in this patient who is in chronic renal failure, has a fistula on the left side, his hemoglobin is 5, and he is waiting for a renal transplant. These sort of patients would never had repair of an aortic aneurysm and be fit enough to go for a transplant just after 2 weeks of the procedure. This is the final result. We have done a DSA. You can see how beautifully the device has been placed. We could spare the renals. The neck is very short, but we could take advantage of the conical neck and place in a bigger device. We could land the devices very well just above the common iliac artery bifurcation. In spite of the fact that the common iliac bifurcation was very high, we could spare both the external iliacs and leave it to the transplant surgeon to do a renal transplant. We have the picture running next to each other, the pre and post picture, and you can appreciate the way the device can work in these sort of patients and reduce the morbidity and mortality, and also a possibility of very early renal transplant in patients who have this sort of massive aneurysms. We are going to extubate the patient after a few hours, and hopefully he will be walking in another 2 days. It has been very good experience to do this case, and it's been very wonderful to have you as an audience. Bye-bye to all of you, and hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.
So, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
I think it's a wonderful case. Just two technical points I just wanted to make. One was the first time when you put in the wire into the arch and the ascending aorta. I personally, like if I'm repairing an infrarenal, I normally, avoid crossing the wire. And second is, why did you took the right brachial approach? Why not the left brachial? Because you should always avoid the arch of aorta because there's always a risk of stroke in these patients.
Yeah. See, as cardiologist, I feel much better to park the wire into the ascending aorta with a loop going upwards, because if your wire is up in the descending aorta and near the arch, and if the wire gets accidentally into the carotids, I'm more worried. So I want the wire, the end of the wire, the floppy portion, to be looping into the ascending aorta and going up. So, and we always pass a very soft thermo wire. We take the catheter all the way up to the ascending aorta, and then on the catheter we change the wire. So the chances of injuring the aortic arch and the vessels and atheroma there is very low. Secondly, we normally do it from the left side, but because the patient had a fistula on the left side, so we had no other choice but to go from the right brachial. And normally we don't go to the brachial. We are successful in getting negotiating the contralateral gate from the groin itself, but maybe 10-20% times we go from the brachial.
Yeah, that was a very nice case. One thing that could help you get that contralateral gate from the groin coming up, there's a steerable catheter called a Morph catheter, which it comes in 6 and 8 French, and it'll make you can steer it from the back to make a 90-degree, as much as a 90-degree turn, which lets you manipulate that into that gate very easily. Usually the reason you have trouble getting in the gate is because you're either in front of or in back of the other limb. Right. And it's difficult to get around it, especially if the aorta begins to narrow down there. And so what I've resorted to is using that Morph when I have trouble like that. And you're able to steer the end of the catheter up to 90 degrees, which will let you rotate it. It has pretty good torque ability to it, so you can actually steer right into the gate and then get the wire up.
And which company would be making this? Because we don't have it in India. Which company would make this catheter?
Yeah, I'd have to look for you. The catheter is called Morph, M-O-R-P-H. It's a Morph catheter. Yeah. And I don't know who makes it. I can find out.
Thank you.